Hello, my name is Resilin, and welcome to Farthest Frontier. I've got about 50 hours of gameplay into this game at this point, and I've learned a few things, some things that I have not seen mentioned in other people's tips and tricks videos, so I thought I would do a video, just pass along some of the things that I figured out from the gameplay. So we'll load into my game and kind of take a look at it, and I'll pass along some of the things that I have figured out. So we will be right back. So I'm playing here on a map that is a plains map. This is about my 6th map, I would say, that I have played in the game. The plains map is proving to be an interesting map, just to kind of look at this. Just to let you know kind of where I'm at in the progression of the game, I have just upgraded my community center here to tier 3. Just to kind of give you an idea of where I'm at, we've upgraded the town center, and so far that's the only 2 things we've upgraded since we hit tier 3 and unlocked the things that are available at tier 3. So this is kind of year 2 at tier 3, at tier 3 town center. So I'll walk you through a little bit of my town, but some of the things and some of the tips that I have, kind of going through this. The first thing that I would tell you when you're first starting out a new gameplay, a new map, the first priority you have is food. You have to get through the winter, and when you first log into the game, you start out in the first month. You're in the early spring. By the time you get to the late fall, early winter, you have to have the food to survive that. So the first thing is you're going to build your town center. As soon as you get your town center built, you need to establish your method of getting food. Now, if you're fortunate enough to establish a town center in a place where they have fishing is a good source of food. I recommend building the fishing hut as one of the first things you do. One of the second things I recommend doing is your hunter lodge. If there are any animals like this deer here that are here that can be harvested, that's an excellent source of food. And then the third thing is a forestry shack, or forager shack, not forestry, but forager. And the forager shack, is something that I tend to do in order to be able to harvest resources. And there's the forager shack. Looking for areas for the forager shack that has a lot of berries or a lot of and greens, things like that. The other thing that I like to look for in the early game is at least one willow bush resource. That lets my people start making baskets sooner rather than later, soon as that comes up. So I recommend getting started with your food first. I build one of each. I try to have a resource and pick map locations that allows me to set up one fishing hut, one forest, one hunter lodge, and one forager shack. And with the thing, and I try to get a mix of things with my foraging, of things that I just want to be able to grab and pick up, and so that I've got I like to have some greens, I like to have some berries, I like to have at least one, in the willow bush that's in my range, so that I can start building up the supply of that. So once I have the 3 of those things down, then I will shift over into building my houses. And what I tend to do in the very early part of the game is put my houses right beside my town center. That way, if I have to garrison my people in the town center, I can, in order to protect them, and as well as to fight off anybody that's coming in. Once I've got those 3, the 3 the food items down, my next set of priorities is to get down some storage. I like to get a stockyard built to be able to put things into the stockyard. I like to get a root cellar built later. After I've got my initial houses done, I like to get a smokehouse to smoke the meat so that it'll last a little bit longer. Kind of get those 3 things down. Now, from an initial setup, that's about all I'm going to get down. You've got the fire. You have to have a firewood shack to make firewood. That's something that you need before winter. So immediately after getting the houses done, I build the firewood splitter, and then I tend to build as my 4th item. So first is the food. Second is my houses. Third is my firewood, and then my last thing that I do is the stockyard. From there, I tend to build out slowly. Now, what I end up doing, and you'll see here that I did it in this town, is that I later moved those houses outside the city walls, outside the city center, and around my town center, I put all of my storage facilities, and in the storage, and my trading post, my vault, things of that nature, my granaries, things that I don't want raiders to come in and steal food from me. I still think in this game, one of the most valuable items I have is food. Everything else is replaceable, but if somebody comes in and steals my supply of food, I end up having starvation. I end up having problems. Now, I can, stay ahead ahead on the wood and the firewood, not really a problem, but I like to have that, food supply secured so that it comes in. So that's my first tip. Just the order of things that you build is very important in the early game, and food is your first thing you have to have, then shelter and firewood to survive the coming winter. Those things have to get in there. You have to be building up the supplies of them. You could even make an argument that you should probably build the firewood splitting as your second set of items after the food, before you even build the shelters, the houses. The houses just need to be done before winter arrives, whereas you need a supply of firewood to put in the houses before that. So I would make that argument, although I haven't done it in that order yet. My second set of tips is just to actually pass out the thing that expands slowly. As you start out the game, I don't necessarily mean the speed at which the game runs, although keeping that slow is not a bad idea. Even running it in half-time speed while you're learning, or 1x speed, while things are going on. You want to make sure that things are going. Feel free to stop the game. Hit the space bar, stop the game. If you need to check things, I want to check the trader. Do I have things that I want to sell or need or should be selling to this trader? I want to come in here and check this. Are there things that I want to buy from this trader? I've got a good supply of beans and things like that at this point in time. We're getting into late spring. A lot of my things are coming in. I don't have a whole lot of bricks at this point, and in fact, I don't have a brickyard. So at this point in time, I do tend to be buying bricks. That's another thing that I would tell you, is don't be bashful about buying things on the market. Having supplies of things that you can buy, sell, trade. I tend to make things, tend to sell them, and put them up, and keep. I got quite the supply of money here to buy and sell things. I'm not afraid to buy and sell things on the market. I encourage you to use the trader extensively in order to gather the things you need. In the early game, one of the tips that I have found several times, check the traders. There are oftentimes situations where you can buy things from one trader that the other trader at a lower price than what the second trader will buy them for. Take advantage of those things when they come up. Might not be a lot of gold, but in the early game when gold is at a premium, it is definitely an advantage to be able to do that. So you can come in here and buy some of the items that comes in, and pull those things out. And so that's just as a note, check in the early game when gold is, very low, or you don't have a lot of it, what you can do as far as pulling that stuff in from one trader to the other. Are there an opportunity to trade between the traders and do things? The other component here about the trader that I would tell you, I tend to focus on buying items like iron bars, which I can't make until later in the game, but I have a use for at tier 2, but I cannot make until tier 3. I tend to focus on trying to, if a trader comes in, I want to have money on hand. If a trader comes in that has those items, I'm going to buy iron bars. I'm going to buy heavy tools in the early game. I'm going to buy tools, in tier 2. I need those tools. I can use them. So I tend to focus on buying them. I will buy swords when they're available. If I have soldiers, I will buy hauberks in the early game sometimes, especially in a case like this where I've got the opportunity to pick up a couple of hauberks, and he's selling them at lower than normal prices. That's something else you can pay attention to, is what the average price. If he's selling these things at below average price, I want to sell things when he's selling above average price. I want to buy them when they're below average price. But for the iron and things like that, if they have it available, I tend to buy iron bars. The clay bricks I tend to buy, just because in the early game, I don't have the ability to make them. I can use those things quite frequently. So having things on hand to do with that. Now to fund that, I tend to make a lot of pottery. I tend to put a clay mine down as soon as I can, build a pottery barn that builds the pottery, and sell pottery. Pottery sells well. It sells often. It's out of there. I will also sell wood. I can harvest large amounts of wood if I have a large labor population. I can sell wood. It's not the best selling item, but it's money. It's gold in the bank. At times when I need it, it's a renewable resource, so it's easily obtained. I will also sell leather jackets. I will make and sell leather jackets from my hunting. I will make and sell extra shoes if I'm making shoes and my people don't need them, or leather jackets my people don't need. Even linen clothing. If I try to keep my population supplied. Any extras end up going into the trade center and being sold to the traders that are coming in just to accumulate the gold. And as you guys can see, I've got 9,000 gold or nearly 10,000 gold here on the trader. I've got, if we look in my global storage, I've got 6,000 gold here, 4,500 in my vault. I have a large supply of gold on hand at this point in time. I'm able to do a lot of things. So that's the second thing, is just, a lot of information about the trader. I do make extensive use of the trader to acquire things that I need, or even just to acquire them at a faster rate than what my population is able to produce them at. If I need luxury items, I can buy candles, faster than what my people can make them. So, take advantage of those kind of things and putting the information in there. The second thing, or the third thing I should say, we were talking about expand slowly. I kind of got sidetracked from that, but I'm going to go back to it. Expand your population slowly, and part of what I mean by that is, as you're placing buildings down, the temptation that I had in the early game was that I can build the building, let's go ahead and build it, I've got the resources to build it. Well, you might have the resources, but getting the people to operate the buildings it takes longer than acquiring the raw resources necessary to build the item. Just because you have the raw resources available to build the item doesn't mean you have enough people, a workforce, to work them. Pay attention to your labor. If this turns orange, you don't have enough people as laborers. You need more. I like to keep this number, in the early game, I like to keep it around 10. In the mid game, where I'm at right now, I like to keep it above 20. In the late game, this number I expect is going to be, 30 plus. The more laborers you have, the faster things get done, as far as chopping trees, doing other tasks, rebuild, resupplying things, just different things that goes on. The builders, I do increase the number of builders assigned to projects from time to time. So I pay attention to this profession screen. You bring it up by hitting the P key, and I look at that quite frequently. And that's what I mean by build slowly, is just because you can build a building doesn't mean you have the workforce to do it. Don't expand your town, add houses so that you get expanded population until you have a sufficient food supply to keep them supplied in food. You'll see here that I've got 8 months supply of food. 6 of this is going to, go bad in the next 12 months. And so, as I bring in more food across the course of the summer, that number is going to go up. By the end of the winter, when the winter ends, this number is going to be low, 3 or 4, just 3 or 4 months supply left. Sometimes I've even been as low as 2 months supply left when I came out of winter. And when you run into those situations, the other thing I will keep in mind, and we'll stop it right here since I've got raiders coming in, but when as your food supply is low coming out of winter, you can take advantage of these traders to buy a short-term supply of food if you're running low, because they tend to come in early, early spring. Take advantage of the traders if you need to create a bridge of the amount of money that the food you need to supply your town. People have mentioned the blueberries. Move the blueberries into in a common area where they can be harvested. I would keep that in mind. That's a good idea. You can see here that I've got a couple of orchards here with different kind of trees in them. I've got my town population over here, my houses, my markets, my healing huts. You can see here the planning that I'm doing. I've got houses marked off that are marked as not being constructed. And then when you have these events where people come and want to join your town, I can decide whether I want to enable a couple of these house slots and allow them into my town. If I'm good on food and I've got enough food supplies to do it, I will add the people to my town, and then that gives me additional workforce. Now I can build additional buildings and do that. So now, moving on to the next thing, defenses. Since we have raiders coming in, let's take a look at where we're coming. We got 19 raiders. This is the largest population of raiders that I have seen come in at any given time. And oh wow, that's a lot of people coming in in one place. And this time they're all coming from the same direction. I have had a lot of situations where that was not the case. People didn't come in the same way. If I come out here, I've got my town. I've got a little village out here for hunting and gathering. That's being done out here around on this side of the lake, taking advantage of that fishing shoal there. I have my town center, which is coming a different direction here, and things that are coming in there. Going out of town the other way, you've got my farms, you've got my barn, you've got a little work area here with a work camp. You've also got a clay pit here on this side of town. There's also a number of people doing foraging on this side of town. We've got farms coming out the other way. I've got more farms. I've got my I've got my compost yard and farms that come out this way, but I mean, people come out here. There's another little work area out here, with harvesting being done, with another work camp out there, as well as some hunting and foraging here. So I've got different ways that people can come into my city. One of the things that I've done is, while I've got almost all of my storage inside the city walls, there are a couple at this point in time that are outside the city walls because I ran out of storage space, and I added a couple of more out here. You can also see that all of my storage spaces can be upgraded at this point in time. My firewood splitters can be upgraded. My sawmill shacks can be upgraded. I haven't upgraded them yet, mainly just because I haven't had the time. It's going to take a lot of wood planks. I have a limited supply of wood planks. I need to go ahead and get started, upgrade my sawmills here, my saw pit to have a faster rate of producing the planks. So that's something that I'll get done. But going back to the defenses, I've got a tower. If we hover over the defenses, I've got 2 people in each one of these towers. Each one of these towers costs tax money, right? So when you look at the cost of a tower, this level 1 tower costs 5 gold. If I upgraded, it costs 10 gold. I don't get additional people in it, but they do get additional range and additional damage. But they're going to cost 10 instead of 5. If we look at here, if I hover over my monthly gold report, you can see that, I'm making plus 33 each month. So I do have the ability to upgrade or to build more towers at the moment, but I've got different things that cost money. I've got a barracks out here. I've got multiple towers here. I've got a little tower coming out on this side. This probably needs to be moved further out, because, to where it can cover this little village out here. Maybe put it here where it covers this. This gets raided pretty frequently when they come in from that direction. But, these towers give me protection, because a lot of times they come in here to try to get to my storage facilities. Well, these towers will be doing attacking people there. But part of what you do when an attack comes in is you hit the button here on the town center to garrison your villagers. That will put people in here that can shoot at anyone that gets in here. The second thing that I did was I upgraded all of my gates as soon as I could to be fortified gates. These things have 1,800 hit points. They'll stand here and try to beat on this gate, trying to get into my city. While they're standing there beating on the gate, the towers are shooting at them. So there's things that'll go in there. Now, these guys may stop and rob the marketplace. If they do, they're just going to make off with stuff that's in there. I'm not super concerned about that. But I do want to try to protect my villagers. They're going to flee from these guys. If we look at this particular person, he's a laborer. His status is attacking. That's a really bad idea. So we will tell him to come back to the city back here. A force of 19 people. He's not going to survive very long if he tries to attack. And in fact, I'm going to select all of my villagers and get them all back in here get them inside the walls. There's no reason to leave them out. So let's take this in. Let's slow it down, half speed. And we'll play out and watch this attack, and let's see what they do. Now, I'm going to guess that they're going to make an attempt. You guys need to come over here. Run away. Run away. So the villagers are coming. These attackers are coming down through here. Well, I can't see that. I'm trying to select him, but it's not letting me. Well, they're running down the road. Alright, as they come in here, all of my people are running inside. Now my towers are getting into this. They're starting to attack. Now, and they are doing pretty decent damage, but they're taking a lot of shots. Now I've got both of them shooting now. So both people in these towers are shooting. I've got my defenses. They're going to run over here. I have no idea where they're going to attack, but they are getting shot right and left. Right, and they're taking damage. So they're now trying to fight their way into the town. And they may even be successful at some of this. Now, I have got one of my villagers that seems to be running the wrong way. I don't know any idea why they're doing that. Get back in the gates. So some of these guys are starting to run. They did not make it in. These guys were trying to go outside the gate because their orders wore off. If you tell them to go somewhere, they'll only stand there for a certain amount of time before they do something else. Now I'm going to have my villagers start attacking. So we are attacking these guys, taking them out one at a time. I've got lots of villagers here. So they're too close now. I guess my towers are not able to hit them right underneath the cover. Now as I get away from this cover, the gates should start shooting again. There we go. We're down to just a few left. Buildings are being attacked. They may be trying to get out of here with things. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of things. The hunters are coming in there. This is not going to take long, and we will have successfully defended our city here. He's trying to run. That will not be successful. And we will let our people go back out now. Everybody is... You can hear the bell ringing, so we'll turn that back off. By using all of my villagers to do the attacking there, I didn't lose any of my villagers. I attacked one at a time, went into some of the different things. Now we'll let my people kind of go back to what they were doing. We'll speed the game back up a little bit as we're doing that. So, we had some things in here. Now, there is some damage to these walls. If we look at the damage, they did a good bit of damage to some things, but each one of these wall segments has 1,500. It'll take quite a bit. The only thing I would say is that it would help to have a little bit of a different setup. I think having these towers jut out one corner, and you probably could improve this by having them right on the corner with some walls around them, so that they don't have cover up underneath these walls like they were having right there. They seem to be up under the walls, weren't getting shot. That was the largest raid that I've seen. There's the notes. There was 19 raiders came in, and we killed 18 of them. So that was a successful defense. I would have called that successful even if we had lost a person or two, but I'm glad we didn't lose any people. So now we're getting into we're kind of getting into early summer. There are several things that we can do here, but one of the things that I want to do first, and I'm going to come in here first as my first priority, is upgrade one of these sawmills. There is a limit to what I can do given how many bricks and other things that I have available, but let's upgrade the sawmill. Now if I come in here to the upgrade, I've got 2 of the sawmills. Now I can add more people to sawmills, but I'm going to upgrade one, and that will give me additional workers. It'll give me increased item speed production. I might not need but one sawmill to keep up with the demand instead of having 2 of them. I'm hoping I can get rid of the second one when I put this one in there. So we'll see. I think I had 4 people working in that one, not 2. So maybe this will tell me how many sawyers did I sawyers? It's called sawyers. I had 6. Yeah, I had 4 in one and 2 in the other. So I think I'll be able to keep up with the demand with just one. So I'll go ahead and upgrade that. Just some of the things while we're here. I will also upgrade some of my one of my firewood splitters. We'll do that as a second item. That's going to take more of the bricks, but we'll go ahead and get that up. I do at times having problems with firewood. I don't at the moment, but some of the cold winters I have definitely run low a few times. We'll see what the upgrade there will give me. Once again, this is going to give me a speed. It doesn't give me more people, but it does give me speed increase. So I'd like to only have one of those as well. And then the other things I can upgrade is some of the other items, but I'm probably not going to do them right here at this particular time. So just as a note, running through them, get your food established first in year 1, make that your priority, expand slowly, that's number 2. Number 3, use the trader, use it extensively as you can. Number 4 is your defenses. Think about your defenses, design your defenses in order to be able to protect what is most valuable to your town. And in my opinion, that is your food. Your other items are secondary, but your storage buildings, your trading center, your town center, those things are very important to do. Your town center being in the middle of it gives you additional people that can fight when people come in there. Plan your sections. You can see how I've got, that's the 5th item, is to plan your expansions. I like to build out and clear the area and then have houses pre-built and ready. In the early game, I like to wait until I have people come that want to join my town so that I get working adults instead of lots of children that are adding in. Children, add food, but don't add a whole lot else, until they grow up. So I like to make sure that I pay attention to the population chart here and how many infants and children and adolescents I have and how many working adults. The number of, it doesn't matter how many people you have, it's the number of working adults that determine whether or not you can actually sustain a population. So you definitely need to make sure, how you do that. Elderly, seniors, those are people that they're going to end up dying. They're going to be replaced with infants. So you have to, you kind of have to pay attention to that population. Paying attention to your population chart here, and if as people die or things like that, you may have to add people into certain professions, otherwise you'll have spots open that aren't being worked. So if you do see a villager die of old age, go check your population chart, make sure what job it was that they held and replace them, for things like that. So that's kind of my point as far as the top 5 things that I have. One last thing I will say about your defenses is, upgrade your gates as soon as you can. That's got 1,800 hit points, whereas the wood gate only has 200 hit points. So the ability of people to break into your town goes down dramatically once you upgrade to the gates. The wall segments that you can build, and I will upgrade to them, have 2,200 instead of 15. So I will try to do that. When they're trying to beat on the gate to get in, they do that. So having the gate be the weaker point is a good idea, in your defense system, because that's where they'll go to get it, and then make sure that your towers can hit the gate. That makes it even better. Anyway, that's it for today, guys. That's where I'm at with my town of Farthest Frontier. I currently have 168 people. I have a sustainable population. I have 1 barn that's producing cows. The cows are producing a good source of meat, tallow, and hides. So once you can get things, don't just buy the cows until you have the barn to put them in and you have the food to feed them. Take care of that first, because if you buy the cows and then try to build the barn and do all that, you may end up finding that you end up losing your cows. I had that happen, I will admit. First time I bought cows, I bought the cows, then I went to try to build the barn. I didn't have the resources needed to build the barn, didn't get the barn built before winter, lost all the cows. They froze to death the first winter. So that's you need to think, kind of plan ahead. This is a game that rewards you for planning ahead, thinking about your city, thinking about the layout, thinking about where people are going to come in and try to attack you from, and making sure that you have the resources necessary to the defense is planned, the resources necessary to sustain your population over time. I tend to play slowly. I tend to expand slowly. By slowly, I'll kind of give you an idea. You saw me on year 2 of tier 3, and we've played 1 year. That was year 31 that we were playing in. Starting out when we came into this thing. And so it's been 31 years, since I did this. I am expanding very slowly, building out slowly. Have moved things from time to time to kind of expand my city and think about it. I will eventually build a wall that encapsulates my living areas. I will come out here and build some defenses out here that they have to come through before they get into my town proper, things like that. But this is I'm having fun with the game. I will admit, this has been a lot of fun, and I got a good bit of replayability at this point for me. I do see, trying to do more difficult maps, trying to do more difficulty levels. I'm still playing at lower levels and still at times struggling to keep up with certain things. I get myself into trouble with the lack of food. I expand and don't have enough laborers at times, so paying attention to all that. There's a lot of detail here. Anyway, awesome job with the game. Love the graphics and having a lot of fun with it. Hope you are too. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like the video, please hit the like, and I appreciate it. Take care, all.